There's a bunch of expressions that I have learned and taken from my colleagues, people I like, people I respect. Okay? The one that Chris Carter gets credit for, which is, by the way, accurate, is you got to have a fall guy, right? That was a good one. You got to have a fall guy. But by saying you got to have a fall guy to, I believe it was the Rookie Symposium back in the day, and that ended up getting broadcast. It wasn't supposed to be broadcast. It was actually on the NFL's website for like a year before people were like, oh, you can't say that. It's one of those, you can say the truth. You just got to be careful where and to who you say the truth. Which is what I guess defenders of Odell Beckham Jr. would be saying now. What I will tell you is the absolute positive truth, and I'm once again going to take from my good pal, Chris Carter, who he can walk it and he can talk it because he's lived it. He nearly drank himself out of the NFL, and that had an incredible resurgence and became a Hall of Fame player. Now he's a broadcaster. But I'll never forget this saying. And it's about guys that get drafted in the NFL that have checks against them, marks against them. And he says, and this is a great poignant point, money doesn't make you something, money doesn't change you. It makes you more of who you are. And there is no more obvious person to point that out than Odell Beckham Jr. Look, the Giants' offseason was a complete joke. It was a joke. They had a chance to draft a quarterback with the second pick in the draft. And as many will tell you, and history tells you, they almost never draft in the top 5 of the draft. And oh yeah, by the way, Sam Darnold, who many people, myself included, believe was the best quarterback prospect, fell to them at number 2. Additionally, they could have stuck a dagger in the heart of the team that shares the stadium with them, the Jets, who moved 3 first-round picks, second-round picks, and traded first-round picks to sit behind them at the 3rd pick. But in an effort to protect Eli Manning, because they thought he still had gas in the tank, they hired Pat Shurmur, who's an offensive guru. They chose to draft a running back instead of drafting a quarterback. And they, of course, rightfully tried to fix their offensive line, which was a disaster. And, oh, yeah, by the way, they also decided to pay Odell Beckham Jr. because, hey, who's better as a quarterback's best friend than a top 5 wide receiving talent? But Odell Beckham Jr. is not smart enough to know what he apparently does not know, which is, dude, everybody says they want the truth and they just don't, because you can't talk about the places that you work. And it's obvious he's not married, because what Odell Beckham Jr. did when sitting down with Josina Anderson and Lil'Wayne, it was like, why is Lil'Wayne here? That was weird. Do you want to include your agent in the interview? No. Do you want to include your girlfriend in the interview? No. Do you want to include, I don't know, your preacher interview? No. How about Lil'Wayne? That sounds like a good idea. Say that one to the mirror and see how you react when you hear it in the mirror. I said this when they gave him the new contract, like 3 months of good behavior. They wanted to get rid of him. They were tired of him. Between the antics with the other team, between the antics with his own team, between the people he was hanging out with, and the video of him with a woman and what looked like cocaine, they were like, we're done. And he's like, you know what? No. I'm better. I'm good now. I'm not healthy, but I'll work out on the side. I'll act like I'm a leader. Then he sits down 4 weeks into the season and chooses to, what he said essentially is telling your wife when she asks you, do I look fat in these pants? You say, you know what? You do. You should go to the gym. You should eat less carbs. You should drink more water because you look overweight. Honey. He didn't just call out Eli Manning. Go back and listen to the interview. He talks about the energy that they need and that they need heart.
For now, I would say it's our heart. It's our energy. It's what we bring when we line up before the game. All of that, it counts.
What he's saying is, we don't play hard. We don't practice hard. Our team has no heart, no courage. That's what he said. That's what he said. And then he said, our two-time Super Bowl champion quarterback stinks.
How come we can't throw the ball for more than 20 yards? How come we don't attempt or try to throw the ball for more than 20 yards? Those are questions that we have to figure out.
And our new coach doesn't get me the ball, isn't scheming to get me the football.
I haven't been in the place where I feel like I can really go out and do everything that I'm capable of doing. I don't get 20 targets like some other receivers.
So is it the offense? Is it the scheme? When you talk about you're not put in a
everything
situation?
At the moment, it's just everything.
The craziest part about his spat with honesty, right? It was almost as if, remember 80s movies where they would invest, they would get a guy, they would sequester him in a room, they'd shine some white light on him, and the guy would start sweating, and all of a sudden, like, the white light would make him tell the truth. You guys remember that? Like spy movies now, they inject you with something, you just can't tell a lie. He was asked whether he was proud of their record, and he said yes. So he lied about whether he's proud, because nobody's proud of being 1-3. They were 1-3 at the time, now they're 1-4. After Graham Gano makes a 50-million-yard field goal to beat them. So he lies about being proud of their record, but then tells the utter truth from his perspective about all that's wrong in the Giants organization. Huh? But that's because Odell Beckham Jr. isn't a different guy since he got paid. Because money doesn't change you. It just makes you more of who you are. Oh, that guy's a DB since winning the lottery. No, he was a DB before he won the lottery. Now it's just a lot more obvious. That's what took place. And anyone defending him has not only never played in team sports, but they probably haven't worked in a corporation. Right? Like, oh, all we do is we want athletes to be honest. Oh, okay. Not to the detriment of others who you work with, who you need in order to help you succeed. Imagine that. And this is not the truth, but imagine if somebody said, hey, Gottlieb, what is it like to work at Fox? Oh, it's great. John Ramos presses the wrong button like 3 times an hour. Ryan Music, he's constantly worrying about where he's getting married in like 3 years. Dan Byer, he's on Twitter instead of updating. Like, again, these things aren't the truth, but if they were the truth, imagine how that would go over. Like, oh, finally some honesty. Yeah, those are the people you work with. Those are the people who make you look better. Those are the people who are going to help you. I mean, you couldn't do that at home. My wife's a lousy cook. She's not a particularly good wife, and she's usually too tired when I come to bed. Oh, but I'm super happy being married. That's what he did. Me, I'm great. I've never been better. Best shape of my life. I'm a good provider. That's what Odell Beckham Jr. said, committed. And that's why his head coach is furious with him. Furious. And if you want to base his success based upon his productivity, which he was productive yesterday against the Panthers, fine. But the harm he has done has been irreparable to the Giants. Irreparable. Because the Giants did what I told them not to do, which is pay a guy after 3 months of good behavior. He hadn't cheated on me in 3 months.